Hey guys, welcome back to another installment of Galley Stories. Today we have Dominic Bova, first mate and at some point co-captain of the FV Sovereignty. How you doing today, Dominic?
Good, Mark. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's good to have you. It's gonna be kind of weird, you and I have been friends for quite a while, and we've never really sat down and had a real good talk about the history of your fishing life. So it's gonna be new and fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Obviously you've been doing it for a while. Why don't we go back to the beginning? How did this start for you?
Well, it was back 1998, right around that time or so. I needed some money to continue my education for college. A friend of mine had gone up to Alaska and worked on a tugboat. He told me that he heard that commercial fishermen up in the area, up in Alaska, made a pretty good living. So I committed to taking a year off of school and just to saving up money, and got online and looked up fishing companies in Seattle, and that's what led me up. Yeah.
So internet age, you literally were able to go on and find it
it was
online.
the very beginning, like 98 or so. So
what were you going to school for?
It was just a business degree. I was just trying to get my bachelor's at the time, so business. But
Okay.
yeah.
So just randomly searching online, and then where did that lead you to? What was your first gig?
It led me to Trident Seafoods, and my first gig was working at a cannery in South Naknek, Alaska. Big Bristol Bay run. So I went up there for, I think I worked for 5 weeks in the South Naknek plant and processed fish. Did that for 5 weeks. Just talked to people, the fishermen, and kind of figured things out, how could I make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time up there. All the conversations led me to get in on boats. So I just started meeting people and networking. It didn't happen quite as fast as I wanted it to, but it all worked out. It led me to getting on taking a processing barge south, processed in Juneau, Alaska for a short time, and then went back to Seattle after the salmon season was over.
Was that also in a plant, or was that?
Oh, it was a processing barge, actually. So we would get pulled to a location, they'd anchor up, and then smaller fishing boats would come alongside and offload their product to us, and we would process it.
So the first 5 weeks at the Naknek plant itself, and then some additional time.
Yeah, it was another 3-4 weeks or something like that I processed on the Neptune.
Okay, and when processing though, so what was your actual job on that line? Because there's so many, right?
I did row. Like, you run these row sacks, these slimy row sacks over this big screen. Yeah, and it was just, I don't know. It was okay. I didn't really enjoy it, but there was a lot of people my age, a lot of college kids up there working during the summertime, so it was okay. I was born and raised in Southern California, in Palm Springs area, so completely different, polar opposite environment, from the middle of the desert, right. Golf courses and tennis courts and country clubs, to being in Alaska,
So you're of college age, so you were already in your 20s.
Yeah.
So then little time on the Neptune, and then what was the first boat? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, what happened was we took the boat south, and then I started to talk to the recruiters, just making inquiries how I could get on a boat, because I wanted to get on an actual fishing boat, because I didn't have any prior experience on fishing boats. They said I didn't have any boat contract experience, so I stayed up in Seattle for a week, just contacted other companies. At this time, it was I think it was into August. Bee season, the summer season, was in full swing for pollock, so I couldn't get hired on. So what I did was I decided to fly home. At the time, I was living in Santa Barbara, California. I ripped the yellow pages out of the phone book at the airport and went home. Got a job at a Fess Parker Doubletree Resort in Santa Barbara, California, and did night audit and front desk work there for, I don't know, it was about 2 months or something. Made calls to other fishing companies in Alaska. Yeah, it was probably into September or so that I got a call from Kodiak Fishing Company. The recruiter asked me if I wanted to go fishing in Alaska, and I said absolutely. And so I gave my 1 week notice at the Doubletree Resort and got on a plane and went up to Kodiak, Alaska. And
This sounds pretty good so far. So at this point, you're what, 20?
I was like 20, 21, 22,
Okay.
something like that, 22 years old.
So
turned
coming
23 up there. So
when
yeah,
you first
22,
started
23.
when you first started going to Alaska, you were a kid out of California, never been there before, found it online. What was your initial experience? I mean, your initial observation of Alaska, the beauty of it. Did you?
Oh, it wasn't anything that I expected. When I first went up to South Naknek, it's just, Bristol Bay Area. It's just all tundra, mosquitoes the size of Tyrannosaurus, or just huge dinosaurs, and big clouds, and yeah, it wasn't really beautiful. But when we went onto the Neptune, we went down into Juneau and Auk Bay, and that was beautiful. The marine life is absolutely incredible. Saw beluga whales and all types of humpback whales and such. Bald eagles flying everywhere. It was absolutely beautiful. Glaciers, when do you ever see a glacier in the middle of the desert?
Well,
Never.
Right. Well, and when
Never.
you see a bald eagle in the lower 48, not very often,
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and when you do, it's an incredible feeling to see that bird, right? You
Right.
got that pride in it.
Yeah.
And then you get up there and they're like rats. They're
So
everywhere.
cool.
It's
Everywhere.
awesome. Yeah.
Everywhere.
So, and today you probably still, I know today you experience that a lot of bald eagles. Do you still have that kind of tick in your heart when you see them? Or is it a little more?
Yeah, they're beautiful birds, So I think I tend to take a lot of it for granted, Just see so many marine mammals, and the natural resources up there are freaking incredible. The amount of fish, and it's really cool, man. I dig it. Yeah.
So, now you found the job. You gave your 1 week at DoubleTree.
Yeah.
You're heading up to fishing Kodiak, you said, right? And what boat? And what was your responsibility?
Yeah. So my first boat contract was the Legacy fishing vessel, Legacy, and it was Kodiak Fishing Company. It was a company run out of Bellingham, Washington. They were in town. They picked me up in Kodiak, and they were on their way up to the Bering Sea to go fish yellowfin, right? Creamy. And so I walk on this boat, or I arrive in town. Someone picks me up. We go into town. I get a bunch of rain gear and boots, and just supplies for the season. And I walk onto this fishing catcher processor. Just a dirty, filthy boat. The boat it was probably 150, 160 feet long. So there's about 20 people on it. It's a H&G boat. And I remember this one guy, he's laying at the back of the house. He's laying down on the deck, man. And he looks at me, looks over, and says, "I don't know what you're doing here. This is a no money boat." I'm going, "Oh, man." And he said his name. I can't remember his name. But he told me his name, and then he said, "But you can call me Country. That's what they call me." And he was from, I don't know where, man, the Ozarks or something, just a backwoods hillbilly. And I'm going, wow, this is going to be interesting. The boat was filthy. Get on there. So shown my accommodations. I had to share a room with 4 or 3 other people, so there was 4 of us in there. Shortly after that, we got underway, went out to go fish yellowfin. On the boat, I processed, and then towards the end of that, it was a 65-day contract. Towards the end of it, I went out, started going on deck, kind of be a combi. Processing wasn't really for me, but
now, did you push your way onto the deck, or were you just kind of invited?
Yeah,
to do that,
I just started talking to the deckhands and stuff because it just seemed more interesting to me. I'm very curious, and I just kind of wanted to learn as much as I could learn. So went up on deck, and I'd go and help and haul back, and then you'd come back down and process and stuff. And
so that put a little fire in you. That's kind of where you wanted to be.
It did. Or? I just get bored easily, and so I'm always I can't sit still. So I'd go out and help out where I could on the boat, but. Yeah.
And how long did you stay on that vessel?
It was a 65-day contract, and after that was over, I left. So I really didn't make any money. So we were fishing yellowfin.
It was a no-money boat?
Creamy. It was a no-money boat. Literally, Country was right. But it was gutter. But it was an experience, and it got me onto a bigger factory boat, catcher processor. Yeah, and I gained a lot of experience.
So where'd you go then?
So after that, I talked to the recruiter in Seattle. I was able to get onto the Island Enterprise. Yeah, it's a Trident-owned vessel. Yeah, I got on that boat. I started processing there, and I'd go up after my shift. You'd have a 16-hour shift processing. I'd stay on and go up and work on deck, and try to learn how to mend the nets and tie knots and just be helpful where you could. I wanted to be on deck. That's what I wanted to do.
Were they paying you for that time, or was this time that you were like, you felt like you were just, you wanted to learn? And
yeah, I just wanted to learn. So you're paid on a percentage basis, case rate, and yeah, so it was just something I wanted to do.
So how about the difference between the Legacy and the Island Enterprise? The way they were ran, the way that they were structured.
Completely, from the personnel to just the cleanliness of the boat, the type of gear that you're using. It's all different. And we're talking, I went from like 150 foot, 160 foot boat to I don't know, I think the at the time the Island Enterprise overall length was like 304 feet. Yeah, so
that's changed
really
a bit.
Big. Yeah, I went from like 20 people to there was like 70 something.
Oh wow! Wow.
Yeah.
And then, so how long did we do this for?
Well, I worked on the Island Enterprise for about maybe 4.5, 5 years. Something like that.
So definitely some experience coming there.
Yeah.
Were you always processing, or did you actually make it up on the deck?
No, that's where I got my first deck job. So I was a combi on that boat. Yeah, and then just kind of progressed from there.
When did the combi come in those 5 years? Was it the first year, second year?
Yeah, it was within the first year that it happened. I think it was after the first season, so that I got a dedicated spot on deck, and that was pretty cool. So the guys that I worked with were great and professional. They weren't scared to teach you skills so that you could help and contribute. It was a great learning environment. Yeah, that was awesome.
So that was probably 2002 at this point then, because you've done a year of contracts and then went home for a couple months, then came back up and did 4 or 5 years on the island. So where did you go from here then?
So after being on there for a long time, I just wanted to continue to grow. I'd heard that you could make better money on the smaller boat, so I started looking around for catcher boats. The catchers, I didn't want to do the whole processing side. My captain kind of grew me for it at the time. Michael Benish, great guy, very smart, but he was the one that was kind of telling me about the catcher boats, and I could make a significant amount of more money, and we'd come to town to do our offloads, and in my off time he'd take me into town, pull up at another cannery processing plant and say, hey, that's a good boat over there, why don't you go ask them if they need any help. So I'd walk in, go meet people and get numbers, and
this was the captain of the island?
Yeah, the captain of the island.
And he's really taking you under his wing and saying, hey, look, you gotta...
Yeah, he was very helpful, and just kind of grew in me to go make sure that I get a good job on a good boat. So
you must have saw something in you.
Yeah, he's a really good guy, man. So
still in contact?
Yeah, every now and then. So I'll call him up on the radio and such. Not as much as we used to, but yeah, he's pretty cool.
All right, so then what was the boat you found?
I actually ended up going and working for BNN Fisheries. I floated around on that boat, worked on the Northwest Explorer, the Arctic Explorer, the Bristol Explorer. I worked a short time on the Exodus Explorer. Yeah. Yep. And those are both...
All on deck?
All on deck, and they all just caught pollock. You don't process, so you go out and fill up the boat and bring your load into town, pull up at the dock next to a pump. They pump the fish off and run it through the cannery. Yeah. It was a good deal.
And then how do we progress from there?
Well, being on the factory trawler, we were always encouraged to take classes to get different types of ratings. So your AB card, your OS card, your AB card, and eventually you wanted to get your license, your captain's license, your mate's license. It was just the evolution of things, So I just, in my off time, I would, take some of my personal time and go and take classes here and there, put together all of these qualifications to apply for the ratings.
So how did that begin to move you on to your next job? You spent this time on the island, the captain's helping you, you're trying to find something else, and then...
Yeah, so after BNN, I went and I worked on the little boat out of Newport, Oregon, the Leslie Lee. Same type of fisheries, smaller boat. Worked there for a short amount of time. I did an A season and an offshore hake, so it was probably between like January through May that I worked for them. Didn't get along with the captain at all. He's just a narcissist and just a screamer, and so that didn't last for too long. And we had, we butted heads big time, and so I left there and reached back out to Trident Seafood. They got me on a charter. Went and worked on a charter for summer and got back in the loop there. Charter. So NOAA will lease the boats, and they go out and do surveys. So basically they split the Bering Sea up into grids. You make a certain amount of tows. They have fisheries observers and biologists on the boat, and they record your catch, measure fish. It's just make an overall assessment of the biomass of the fisheries involved in that area up in the Bering Sea. So, and the first boat that I went on was the Arcturus. I went and worked on there.
Was Glenn the captain on there?
Glenn Sullivan, great man. He's still running that boat. It's a lot of fun. He's got a great crew.
He does. When you say the charter, though, so all this information they're gathering, obviously, is that where these numbers come from for how much is going to be the quota for the season? Is that where these numbers are coming from?
That's where all the numbers are pulled. So, and it's the best managed fisheries in the world up in Alaska. They do a great job of keeping track of what you catch, how the fish are producing, and what the overall biomass is looking like. So it's a good system that they have in play.
Yeah, it's pretty strict too, right? I mean,
it's very strict.
You have to have an observer on the boat.
You have to have an observer on the boat. So,
and their job's to essentially count everything that you're doing, right?
Yep.
So, all right, charter on the Arcturus. Now let's really get serious here. Where did we go? How did we really progress? What boats were we on? Because at this point you're a fully licensed captain right now.
No,
so things happened pretty quickly.
Now I am. At the time I worked on the Arcturus, I didn't have my mate's license. I went and started filling in the fleet on other boats, and I think I went and worked on the Dominator for Craig Jensen. And
that had to be a good guy to work for.
Yeah, he's great, man. He's such a hoot. Very knowledgeable, very professional, first class all the way. Yeah. He's
still that way in everything he does. I mean, working with him as a port engineer, he's very detailed, very meticulous. Yeah.
He's all right. But yeah, so I worked for him and filled in on deck, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to start towing the net at night and learning that type of stuff, and I just wasn't able to. He's always held a crew on that boat for a long time. I think at the time that I worked on there, everyone had worked on the boat for like 18 years, together.
Hard to get a spot when everybody's already got a spot.
Bill, his mate and co-captain, went to high school with him. So he told me that it would be unfair if he let me tow and do these things, and it was cool. I made great money working for that guy and learned so much working on his boat also. But one of his guys, Jim Howard, wanted to go half-time, and so I was able to split that time with him, split the seasons, split the time and split the money, and then in my off time, off of that boat, I would go and fill in on other boats, and that's how I kind of, got to know the fleet and the different people.
All within that Trident family, or were you reaching out to
all
other?
within Trident, okay. Yeah, I didn't want to leave them, so they're a great company to work for. They take care of their boats. All the people are very great. Yeah.
So awesome. Then after the Dominator?
So that's how I got my license. Jim, after a year of going halftime with Jim, he didn't want to split the time and money anymore. So Craig was going to have me back. Or Craig told me if Jim didn't want to come back, that he wanted me back on his boat, but he wasn't going to pay me full share because I didn't have as much experience as everyone else. And at that time, that was after summer, and we had like 3 months off or something. And I kind of got upset, okay, I'll wait around and see if I can work on your boat. I'd love to work for you, but I'm also going to, put my feelers out and reach for something else. During that time off, I went and sat for my license, my original license, and it was a good thing because an opportunity came along on the boat that I work on now, the Sovereignty, on deck as a deck boss. So I went and worked on that boat for Kaz and Jeff Boddington, and worked on deck there for a couple of years. Yeah, and it ended up working out because.
So and you remain on that boat now?
Yeah, I'm the mate on that boat now.
So you got on there several years, well, a few years ago at least. I mean, It's been a while. So you work for Kaz in Boddington.
Yeah, I think it was like 2007, man.
As we call it.
2007 or 2008, I started working on that boat.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So you've already got 20 years in the fishery.
No, I've got, like, right now, I think I've got like 18 years or something from the first time that I came up to Alaska. I have about 18 years.
Okay.
18, just over, something like that.
It's quite a bit of time.
Yeah, time flies, man.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So in that amount of time, here's where the fun's going to come, Dom. And you guys, I just call him Dom because kind of everybody calls him Dom for short. It is Dominic. In that amount of time, you've had to experience some things that, good and bad. And we're going to go back from that first time you went up in 98, right?
Okay.
To current. And I'm looking for your fear in that. Just a story about the thing that scared you the most. Let's have between now and then.
I don't know if I had to pick one moment. Maybe, yeah, a few years ago or something, we're hauling back on the Sovereignty, and it was stacked up. There's like 25 footers. It was pretty crappy, and he couldn't get turned around to haul back going into the wave, the direction of the swell as it's coming to you. So we started hauling back and winding the net, going with it. So, yeah. Anyways, we're winding up the net, and a 25-footer pushed through the back of the boat. It went over the gantry. For sure it went over the gantry, but it happened so quick. I had enough time to grab one of the deckhands on our boat, Angel, push him in between the net reels out of the path of the water, and I held on to a bar, just clung onto it for dear life, man. But I was pretty scared at that moment. Angel and I were okay. The guys on the other side of the boat got they got splooshed, man. They got washed all the way forward. No one got hurt, but I mean that's just the only moment that
it's a pretty scary moment, though.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Well, you don't know it till it's all flashing right there, right?
Yeah.
Do you? Does that flash back in your mind sometimes? That
No, not at all. But yeah, that was probably the scariest moment. So I haven't experienced like seeing anybody get hurt or.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
We're not trying to dig for all the horror stories. Just the first time that you personally were scared. Yeah. So we actually had the captain of the Sovereignty on here not too long ago.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff Crane.
Yeah. What a guy to learn from, right? I mean,
that's my boy, man. He's a great man. He's a great man. Yeah. First class all the way.
What I find funny is you even say that when you're drinking a lot. You keep that going.
He's a great man to work for. Just a good friend. He would do anything for his crew.
Good guidance, right? I mean, good.
Absolutely.
When I asked him the same question, his answer was he was really lucky. Working on a great boat, great crew, very safe. He had to dig back to find that scary moment as well, and which is great because there's a lot of guys up there that have more than one very, very scary moments, So let's go to the little humor side. Do you have some of that? I mean, give us a couple funny stories. There has to be some because I know the guys you work with.
I don't know. Nothing really like sticks out in particular. So there's all kinds of funny moments. You become like family, and it's just 5 of you on the boat taking care of the boat, and just the whole camaraderie and I don't know. Not any one significant funny story comes to mind.
Well, then give me
Sorry,
two.
Man. Sorry, man.
It's just all family. I'm not going to tell on everybody.
Right. I'm a joker and a clown, man. I'm always I'm always goofing around and stuff, but I can't ever think of like one moment,
Yeah.
Where I'm always laughing and trying to have a good time, So
that's probably a good way to be, right?
Yeah.
It's probably a good way to be. Has the crew changed much since you've been on there?
Jeff's son Nick started working on the boat a couple years ago. I don't even know. I lose track of time now so easily. It's been at least 3 years, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years. But all of us come from similar backgrounds. Jeff, myself, Coach, and Angel, we've all worked on factory trawlers. So Nick's a new addition to our team, and he's a great guy. He's very smart, always willing to work. Just can't sit still, man. It's awesome. All of the guys on the boat are first class. Our engineer's fantastic, and Angel, he's freaking great. I've known him since I started fishing. We started fishing the same year,
Was he on the Legacy then? Or?
No, he was working for Trident Seafoods on a processor or something. But
you guys all on that boat like to pull guts or something to get started, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
You know,
we worked a different angle, than everyone else did. So a lot of people, either their fathers or family members are involved in it, or they know someone. They come from small towns, down in Newport, or from the Oregon coast, and by word of mouth and friends, they get jobs and stuff. But
isn't that how it goes too? I mean, you really, especially today, you almost have to know someone to get on these big boats that are making good money.
Absolutely.
Or you got to work your ass off and show that you're willing to do that.
Yeah, everyone's got to pay dues, man. Nothing's free in this world,
What is it?
Nothing's free, man.
What is it? Again, going back from California, a young kid, 21, trying to pay his college tuition. At some point in there, you got absolutely hooked, right?
Yeah.
Where was the hook?
After that first year, so it took me, I came up in that first year, I worked in the processing plants and the barge and on that. And I didn't really make any money that first year. It was just kind of...
Well, because Country told you weren't going to make any money.
It was just seeing the flow chart of how everything worked, Like...
He told you weren't going to make any money.
Like seeing that map and going, hey, okay, this isn't working. So I came back, I reapplied to colleges, got accepted again, and was going to take another year. And at the end of that year, I had got the job on the Island Enterprise and was making decent money. And I go and work... at that time it was decent money because of how old I was and stuff, but it wasn't a lot, but I liked it. I liked the lifestyle. Like, I could go and work for 3 months, come back, have all my bills paid, party, go out. I didn't have any worries, and I liked it. So I could go travel and then go back to work and make more money and do it all over again.
So it
was carefree. All of my friends were going to college, and they were just bogged down by bills and in debt.
And you weren't.
And I wasn't. I was like,
So did you have that big spend? That first big thing that you had a big wad of cash. You were like, okay, that's what I'm getting.
Nah, I just, I've always been kind of frugal, but, I'd go back home and I didn't start traveling at first. I tried to get my friends, because I was young, tried to get my friends together to go and travel, and they didn't ever want to go. So after a little while of that, I just kind of boned out and was like, all right, later, I'm going to take my money and go travel around, go spend a month over in this country, go spend a month over here, go, just do things, do what I want.
Yep.
Do what I want.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
Now, if you had, our industry, all of us are getting older. There's not a lot of young guys coming, right?
Yeah.
So what would you suggest for young guys that are really, really wanting to make a change or get into this industry? Because today, it's on TV. You can go crabbing and here's what's going to happen. But we're not all about that, right? We're more about how do you get into the industry? Because the industry is not all crab, regardless as to what you see on TV.
Right.
So what do you suggest, guys listening that just want to put it out there?
It's hard. You really have to know somebody, but now the companies offer trainee programs and such like that. Contact these HR companies. They don't, people used to hire off the docks. Like, when I first started fishing, people would be walking the docks looking for jobs, and that's how hiring used to be done. The big corporate environment's built itself up, and insurance companies and other things are involved, so you have to go through the whole process. But you probably have to contact the HR departments for these companies and just jump in, man.
So do you think it's a good thing to start pulling them guts? Do you think that these guys need to just get up here and get the work done, and putting in that time will result in something like you've done? I mean,
you got to come up to Seattle and meet people. So if I had to look for a job myself, I'd go down to the net manufacturers and net builders and work in one of those shops, and by networking and meeting people, and
you learn how to fix a net. You're a valuable guy, right?
Just showing you're worth the shit, and you can, grind and work and keep your mouth shut, then you'll get on. But yeah.
So I know this last season, actually Jeff said, "Hey Dom, here's the keys.
Yeah, it's pretty
Take this
cool.
boat for a ride." Now let's go to that moment when he said, "Hey, I'm going to step off the boat and you're going to run." Because this is what every captain waits for, right? Is that first moment to sit in that chair and be the guy on the boat calling every command. Because when you're the guy, you're the guy.
Right.
So give us that moment. How did that work out for you? What was the feelings going on?
Oh, it worked out great. You know, Jeff's been talking about it for a couple years, or since he took the boat. He, you know, we had a talk, and he said that he didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do this forever, and eventually that he wanted to start taking time off, and he wanted, you know, he was going to let me run it if it worked out, and so he finally decided to go and do it. And, you know, he gave me 2 trips, which is freaking great, and I got to bring the boat south. I was a little nervous at first, but, you know, we do it all the time. Like, Jeff's really cool to work for. He's not a micromanager, or, you know, he doesn't keep you under his thumb. He lets you do your thing. And so that's it. At night, I have the boat. The boat's my boat, you know, and, you know, hey, he'll, you know, give me the lineup. Hey, this is what these guys caught today. This is where they've been working. And figure it out, you know. And so, I don't know. Looking at it now, he's kind of groomed me to do it, make those decisions. And,
it's still got to be different when he tosses the keys and walks off the dock and gets on a plane.
It's cool. Yeah.
I know you were excited.
Yeah, so excited.
I was excited for you.
Yeah. It's cool. I'm just, you know, I'm stoked that he trusts me enough to, you know, to let me do that, and the company and the you know, Christian and the managers, you know, that they would let me do that. It's freaking awesome. So we did a great job. Oh man,
because
so
on my
surreal.
Personal boat coming to the locks, I was a little like, shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So how was that bringing that big ass boat?
Yeah, in the middle of the night, it's all dark. You know, you enter the cut, and you're just going, holy.
Here it comes.
shit.
Here it comes. Your heart's going.
Yeah, it's cool. I just went really slow, man, and took it easy, you know. But it was weird when we got inside the locks and they close the doors behind you and start filling it up, and you're just, you know, I'm used to being down on the deck with the guys, you know, on the rail handling buoys and mooring lines and stuff, and, you know, talking to people in the locks. But, you know, this time I was up on the wheelhouse level. It was kind of cool. It was all right, man. I was like, heck yeah, this is awesome, man. Yeah, Jeff met us down there. Jeff and Susan, his wife.
They were on the outside. They saw you coming in.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
They came down and had dinner at Ray's, and they came over, and, you know, it was cool, man.
He's watching you operate the boat. He's out there just, let's just take a walk down the locks and see my boy Dom pull this big ass boat through the locks. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy, man.
That's pretty cool.
I'm so fortunate, so lucky to work for him. Yeah.
Are you saying all this because you know he's going to listen to this later on?
Man.
I mean,
not at all. I've worked for a lot of different people, and Jeff's solid, you know. He is solid, so, yeah.
You ever get in a fist fight on a boat, Dom?
Yeah, but I really don't want to talk about that, so, yeah. We're not going to talk about that.
Okay. I just saw you getting rancy. I thought maybe there's one.
We're not going to talk about that.
All right, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah. So, again, back to the guys that are looking for jobs. You gave them good advice there. Any other experiences you want to talk about? Or are you pretty wrapped up?
Yeah, I mean, nothing comes to mind. Nothing sticks out, man. Like there's nothing that I absolutely have to share.
Well, it's been a good time talking to you.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me.
Well,
it's awesome.
The best part about this podcast is all unscripted, right? So we can talk about what we want.
Yeah. What's
said is said, and there's nothing else that's going to happen. But, all right, guys, we've had Dominic Bova here, the first mate, and for a couple weeks anyway last year, co-captain.
Yeah, buddy.
For the FV Sovereignty, and appreciate you coming.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
I hope that you've had a good time here.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, tune in another time for Galley Stories. I'm Mark Kaler, and we will see you next time.
Bye.